Hi, ladies. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Thank you so much for
Hi.
joining me. I know both
Rough,
of you
but
are
good.
just finishing work for the day, so I appreciate you. I know it's been a long day.
Oh, yes.
But yes, thank you so much again. We are back for another episode of Coffee and Conversation. Again, this is the mom edition with me, Jasmine, because I'm the new mom of the Coffee and Conversation Sisters Collective bunch. I am the new mom. So I have today, because I've recently been just contemplating, breastfeeding, and the fact that one of my first goals when I was pregnant was like, I want to make it to 1 year of breastfeeding. And literally next Wednesday, I will make it to 1 year of breastfeeding. And I was like, I gotta give myself some kudos, because there's been some moments when Miss Ma'am, who is currently right here, she will be out of the room in just a minute, but she has 3 teeth now, like 2.5 teeth. And I'm just like contemplating all of the challenges and the great moments, the times when you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through this. So I wanted to have this conversation with other moms who breastfeed, did it or stopped or have done it multiple times. So this particular conversation is with some other new moms who are breastfeeding for the first time. And so let's just dive in. We have Jessica, who is on the screen down. And then we have Aisha, who is to the left, or however this shows up on your screen. So one, I want them to introduce themselves and tell us how you are, what you are doing, what is your, a little about yourself, and of course your little one, like how old they are, and of course how long you've been breastfeeding. So whichever one would like to start, you can go right ahead and introduce yourself.
I guess I'll start. My name is Jessica. I am a new mom, first-time mom. I have a 8-month-old daughter. She just turned 8 months on Friday. I know I shed a couple tears. She's growing so fast. It makes me want to cry every day. But I've been exclusively breastfeeding the entire time. As you said, with the teeth, that is difficult. She has 2, and she's feisty, so I think she bites me on purpose. So
listen, we're gonna get into that.
I'm pretty sure it's on purpose. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing well, making it during this, pandemic, and being at home, and with all the changes and the constant scenery of this window that I'm sitting in front of right now. I don't even know. We'll see. I don't have no idea when we're going back to the office. Yeah. Trying to determine, with daycare and kind of how we want to work that out. I mean, she's home, but then we're thinking, well, maybe June she may go back. We don't know. I don't know. I need to follow up with conditions and rules and the processes and procedures for COVID-19 in regards to daycare and these other little germy little kids.
Right.
So, well, that's to be determined. But yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell right now.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. I'm Ayesha, and I'm also a new mom. I have a 10-month-old. He turned 10 months yesterday. I know. 2 months from a year. It sounds really weird. I don't know. It's crazy. So I'm actually not currently breastfeeding. My goal was, I think, 6 months to a year or something like that. I barely made it to 6 months. I mean, I was like right there. I mean, I literally feel like I was counting the seconds. Like, okay, I'm at 6 months. Okay, I'm done.
We're done.
So now I did think about, I think it's called relactating or something like that.
Okay.
And COVID happened, so I didn't, because I got distracted with everything else. But supposedly, I don't know. I wanted to really try it to do like a test. Yeah. But supposedly you essentially do what you guys are doing. You pump every day, or you try to put him on he would never go on my breast now, but essentially you pump every day a certain amount of time, a certain, a number of times a day. And then it might take you, the time you've stopped, it might take that long to get your supply back. So like if you stopped a month, it might take a month or 2 or 3 like that. I didn't do it, but I heard it works, and some people even get their full supply back. Now, I remember in the shower, I was just testing it out a little, and it took a bit, but I was able to hand express some. And so I was like, I think I could probably get it back if I tried, but COVID happened, so I didn't. So we are doing formula and solids, slowly decreasing formula. He's not on much formula, but he is on some because that's where he gets his nutrients. But that's kind of where I am in the journey.
Cool. And what about you? What are you doing during all this COVID, working and all of that good stuff? Are you working from home as well?
God. Yes, I'm working from home. It's a bit crazy. So we started another business making masks. So that's been keeping us
I did
busy.
see that. Yes.
Yeah, plus the other business. So I'm really thankful because at first we were hit hard with just a lot of people getting rid of contractors and coaches and stuff. But so we're at home though, all day, every day. We are kind of trying to stay in because we have a little one and my in-laws are older, so they're more at risk. So we're just trying to take it.
Precaution. Yeah. All of the precautions. I feel you.
Yep.
So that's I'm glad to hear both of you are doing well during all of this, first of all, because I know like you're still working, you're able to bring some kind of income and not have that much stress, because that on top of like everything else can just, especially with the supply, like for me, I'm like, that can have this girl, that can have such an impact on your supply. So I want to dive in first. When you started breastfeeding, did you encounter any of the issues of like people around you or outside of you kind of being like, why are you doing that? Or having some kind of like negative to say about it? And I'll phrase that because I know not in my immediate family, but outside of that, in the world, in a sense, I did have some people that are just like, well, I did not breastfeed my kids and they turned out fine. And so it was almost like, why even try? Like you went 6 months, so you did something. You gave it your all. You did what you could do. But it was some people like, why even go through the process of doing that? So did you guys experience any of that?
I can say that I did not. I don't think I experienced any resistance in terms of anyone questioning why I decided to breastfeed. I can say though is it seemed as though like in our community, African American community, that it just wasn't common, especially when we think about our parents and kind of what they did. I mean, there was no advice there because it wasn't something that was done. I think, the pressure of, trying to cover yourself is always a bit much. And even thinking about like, your husband and kind of what they think, because they look at, their boobs. Right. Whereas for me, it's more of a food source for my daughter. Right. Where if she's hungry and it's hot, like,
I'm not doing all of that.
Right. So it's either, okay, I'm feeding in the car, or, it's going to be out because it's too hot for her to, be up under my shirt, where I'm trying to feed her first and foremost. I think there is definitely a lack of education there in terms of breastfeeding.
Yes.
And the way that we look at our bodies and it's definitely different now when viewing yourself before pregnancy and now after, and what they're truly, used for. So I definitely didn't encounter any resistance, but just, the stare sometimes of, whatever. And I can say that I probably was guilty of that before I had her. of like, just like not even just questioning, just being kind of like thrown off a bit in like a weird way. If you see somebody, like I think we were at Chick-fil-A, me and my husband, and we're sitting there, and this lady behind us, she just starts breastfeeding, and we're just like
really?
I mean, with the chicken nuggets though, you know, but but now I get it. When the baby's hungry and if they're, you know, fussy, tired, whatever, like you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do to calm that baby. So
absolutely. Did you experience that?
I did not experience any resistance with breastfeeding. My resistance was I was having like a hard time. So whereas I was like struggling because I was like, I don't know what to do because there is a lack of resource and my supply was down.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can like, you can't wait. Like when the doctor says your supply is down, you can't wait weeks to get it up when the baby's hungry. It's like you either get it up within like 24, 48 hours or you got to supplement. So I think my struggle was the opposite, maybe. People making me feel like, oh, if you use formula, your child is going to die. Like,
really?
You're a terrible person. Yeah. It's just kind of like, oh, you should really try to breastfeed. It's like, duh. Like,
what do you think I'm doing?
Right.
Like, hello.
So I think that was actually the other side of it, is where like, I need to really bring it in. And then it was like, my husband was like, stop, like, we got to do what's best for him. If he's not getting food and you're not producing enough, you kind of we don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
And so I think that was the hardest part. Cause then you like kind of feel like, I don't know, like kind of less than or not a good mom. Cause you're like, man, I'm not doing enough. And then I think I talked to Jessica a little bit and it's like, you're eating oatmeal every day and drinking
something,
doing all of the things. I hit that point where I think it was like 6 weeks when I was starting to go back to work a little bit, and that's when it hit for me, where I was just like, my supply took a deep dive. And I'm like, where I was able to pump, like I was able to pump and breastfeed her. It was like the pump was not working. It was not working at all. I was barely getting an ounce when I was pumping.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm drinking the water. I'm doing, like, eating the oatmeal, doing all of this, doing all of that. And it wasn't until I was like, my mom was watching her during the day, and I was like, listen, I don't know what to do, but I have this free formula that Similac sent me, and that's what we're going to use. We're going to use the sensitive stomach just in case. And we're going to go from there, and that we're just going to see it. And she drank it for a few days, and I finally was able to like start getting my supply to come back up. And so the only time I was like having her on the breast was when I was at home. And that helped. But listen, did you guys experience the one side? Because I know right now, it's still to this day, she only likes one side.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm lopsided. I'm lopsided out here. Like, what is this?
Yep.
So I think for me, I definitely experienced that. And to be honest, it has changed since birth to now. So I had the unfortunate incident of being in an accident when I was 28 weeks. And so what ended up happening was, because of the seatbelt, this side over here was kind of swollen. And so even between like then and everything trying to heal, it was still kind of bruised up in here. So my production on this side wasn't as great. But this boob was always a little bit bigger. So she preferred this side because that's where most of the milk went. And then was that. And then most, like when she was born as well, when I was in the hospital, they also characterized my nipples as quote unquote inverted. I don't feel like that now, and possibly because maybe she brought them out or whatever. Yeah. So I had even had issues latching to the point where when she was in the hospital, she's if you see my daughter now, you'd be like, what happened? Because she was so tiny.
She's all chunky now.
Oh my gosh, she is chunky. But she was so tiny when she was born, but I could not get her to latch in the hospital. Like I had the lactation consultant in twice a day because it was so hard for me to like get her on the boob to the point where she was so like when we left when she was born, she was in newborn diapers. When we left, she was in preemie, and she was in preemie for a little bit, diapers inside. She couldn't fit the clothes that we brought to the hospital. She was so tiny. But then after that, we started to get, like, I had bloody nipples for a really long time because it was, at that point, it wasn't even about, okay, is she latched on correctly? Let me tell you, if that baby latched on, we was riding it out. It was what it was, because at that point, she needed to eat. It was like, okay, but she's eating, so we're good.
We're gonna keep going.
Right. But surprisingly, over time, this boob started to produce more. And I don't know if it was because it kind of got bigger because of the accident. So now she doesn't like this one. So now this one lacks. And this one is like always milk. So even now, and I try to put her on here, she always still, I want to go over here. So this one actually produces a lot more on my left side.
I'm a lefty. I'm a lefty.
Yeah.
She is, I think what happened with me was when she was a few weeks old, maybe 2 months, I was like, okay, because she was not sleeping. By this time, she's too big to sleep in the little thingy. What are they? I don't even know what
bassinet.
Not the little, it's a bassinet, but like the one that we had for our bed, she was too big for it. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna figure this out because you're not sleeping, you're teething. She was teething for months on months. Nothing was coming out, but she was teething. And so I'm like, we need to figure out some kind of sleeping because this is not gonna work. And what ended up happening is I would have her on my left side. And so that in the middle of the night, I'm just stuffing the boob in her mouth, and so she prefers this side. So now I'm like, come on, take this, and she's like, she'll suck on it a little bit, and then she's like, give me the milk, ma'am. I need the milk. So I'm like, okay. But it's just so interesting because I know it can, when you go through those tough times as a first mom, you're like you said earlier, Aisha, it's like, am I failing as a mom? Am I'm not giving enough milk? Am I providing them the nutrients they need? Because it seems like I'm doing all of these things and it's not helping. I was drinking, in the beginning, I was drinking coconut milk. I'm drinking aloe water. I'm like, what is going to bring this production on? Did you get to the point of like trying like lactation treats, the teas, the things like that? Like, cause I found a site. I was like, okay, Milky Mama. Okay. They got some brownies. They have some powder to put in the water. So when you're drinking the water, it's not just plain water. It's like some extra nutrients in there. The tea, I tried it a couple of times and I was like, this is disgusting. It tastes, I don't know if there's other teas, but the one I tried, it was like a licorice flavor. And I was like, I don't like. So did you guys get to the point of trying any of those types of things? It's like, yes.
Oh yeah, the oatmeal and the cookies. And what's the water? What's the juice, Jessica? Body Armor, drinking like enough water, just different things like that. I drank a lot of tea, but I'm also a tea drinker. I took what is it, fenugreek or whatever, the capsules, and did all of that. I mean, it might have helped a little bit, but not as much as I thought it was going to. It was just like, out of all this extra stuff I'm doing, I thought I was going to be overflowing.
It's like, the milk is going to be coming, and it's
like enough to even donate. Like, anybody wants some milk? But no, that's not what happened at all. Yeah. But I think that's why I got tired as well. It's just like, okay, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
But I did try some things, and again, I was going to even try to relactate, but yeah, that did not happen. But definitely tried all of that. Exercising, sleeping, all the good things you're supposed to do to keep your supply up. But it helped a little bit, but it wasn't significant for me.
Yeah. I think I definitely tried all of that stuff, and I still to this day, body armor is still on my, like, every morning. I take my prenatals. I take, extra vitamin D capsule. I know that they say that that does nothing for the baby, but I've noticed like it helps me. So, and I still do body armor every morning. That will forever be, while I'm breastfeeding, be like a part of my diet. I've tried the cookies. I've tried it all. I've tried oatmeal. I've tried the tea. I've tried so many different things. The one thing that I didn't notice is, for me, and I don't know if if it works for everybody else, but at least for me, breastfeeding, dieting, working out, those don't mix. When you're breastfeeding, it's already stressful enough. So you're putting stress on your body. And I think that also kind of diminishes, your flow a little bit. But when you're already stressing about that and you're adding different things on its flow, I think that also kind of, case in point, kind of also causes your flow to kind of decrease. But yes, I think stressing about that and then also working out and trying to eat right while you're thinking this should be helping me. But to be honest, on those days when I eat the worst are the days where my flow is the highest. So I would go to work, and be stressed and thinking about, I had when I finally went back to work. I went back to work after 4 months, but and then also trying to pump that and bringing that in, a different story. That's a whole different game.
We're gonna go there next.
Hate pumping, but
my goodness.
Going back to work, I had to be mindful of eating, but not like, I know like you want to eat healthy because then that kind of fuels you and gives you energy. But when you're thinking about fueling your baby, it just didn't mix for me. So I'm downstairs at the cafe buying cookies, and they're looking at me like, because I'm like, before baby, it was really healthy, really strict in terms of what I would put in my body. And so now I'm back at work and everybody's looking at me with the side eye, like, what is going on over here? And I'm like, listen, you don't understand. The more carbs I have, the more fatty things that I have, the more milk that I produce. So, and it for some reason, it just does not, those things do not go together. So I just had to get out the idea out of my head of, I want to be fit. I want to, this whole snapback thing that's just all over social media. Not saying that I'm just, out here, heavy set or whatever. Like, I do take in mind and try to walk and do some things, but at the same time, you got to understand that your body's different, and you are feeding someone else. So you have to put their interests above your own. So for me, worrying about fitting into the jeans that I wore before pregnancy is going to have to wait until after I'm done breastfeeding, because if I were to focus on that, I know for sure that I would not be, 8 months in and still breastfeeding.
Facts. All of the facts, okay? Like, when I tell you, that is so real, because you get to this point where, like, okay, I'm trying to lose this baby weight over here. I would like to, because I still, to this day, them jeans, my hip spread, them jeans, done. I'm just like, it is what it is. I have like one pair that I wore during my pregnancy, and that's like one of the only ones that I can still fit. Everything else, done. I'm over it. I'm like, it is what it is. But I realized that too, at least one meal throughout the day has to be fatty, has to have a whole bunch of carbs. And if I got to stop by Chick-fil-A and get me a large fry and a chicken sandwich and then eat one of my lactation brownies, that when I get home, I'm just flowing. Like, even when I'm like, out, when I'm like on the road, because, with my job, I'm not sitting still in an office. I'm like going from photo shoot to photo shoot to photo shoot. So if I'm driving and I got to stop here to get some food, that's going to be my best option to help in that. Like, if I've been away from baby for 2.5 hours and now it's time for me to pump, if I get something that is ridiculous that I know I shouldn't be eating, I'm able to pump. I was pumping like 5, 6 ounces. And I was like,
right.
like, I'm sorry, but like, that's what I have to do.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm going to do in the meantime. And at night, when I get home, dinner, I will have a salad. I will have all the veggies. I'll have a piece of salmon. And, you know, I'll be good for dinner, breakfast and dinner. I'm good. But during the day, when it's time for me to pump, I'm like, I so agree. I am so in agreement with that. It's like, let me get these snacks that on a regular basis, I know I shouldn't be eating. Even to this day,
right.
I haven't been pumping, which is a whole, I want to take it there because that is a whole, that was a whole challenge. I'm not pumping right now. I'm more, because she eats solids and then I breastfeed her. Because I'm home more, I'm not as busy as I was before. And COVID-19, I'm like, I'll be there so she can breastfeed. I'm not doing all that. So, pumping is a whole challenge in itself. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, this is easy, especially those first few weeks when you're home, because your milk production is on high alert at that point, and it's so much coming in. And so you need to pump it out because that engorgement.
Oh no, that hurts. Yeah.
For sure.
I promise it was like, I had her on a Monday and they were like, my midwife and my doula, they were like, by Thursday, your milk production will be in, it'll be past the colostrum. And I was like, okay. It was like, knock, 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 Thursday, here we are. It was like, huh. I was like, huh, huh. I wasn't ready. Ready. All I had was like a feeding pump at the time. I did not have the tools for me because it hadn't come in yet. It hadn't come in the mail yet. So I'm like, I have the hand pump going. I'm like, this electric pump needs to get here ASAP. And when it finally did, I was able to fill up like 2, because it was in bags. So it was like 2 bags full of milk in that first week and a half. And I was like, wow. But after that, that's when it gets to the challenging part. That's when you hit like, okay, my milk production, baby eating, it's 2 different things, and I'm trying to pump to keep my production up, because that's what they say you're supposed to do. Pump to keep the production, pump to store milk, but I'm not making enough to do any of these things. So when did you start pumping? Have you pumped from the beginning? I know you're now exclusively pretty much breastfeeding, but do you pump in the meantime? Every now and then do you pump? Did you decide to stop, or what was your game plan for both of you for pumping?
Pumping. Okay. So
he was like, let's get real.
Right. So I hate with the capital H, and I know that is a strong word. I do not like it. I like nothing. Like I strongly dislike pumping. I think for me, I was fortunate enough to be home for 4 months, probably over 4 months, with my daughter on leave from work. So, and it was during the holidays. She's a September baby, so I didn't go back until January. So which was amazing. Even through the engorgement stage, and it's probably why she's again kind of large now. I forced her to eat it. So it was more like, okay, here you go, baby. Like, just all in there, especially because getting her to latch too, and it was so difficult. So, and then some nights even I would have her on, and I would have my husband like kind of massage it to kind of get it out. Whereas now I kind of like, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have been bumping, but I didn't get that memo. So did not get that. And plus, like, getting the whole different story of getting out of bed to go pump. No, when you're already lacking sleep.
Oh my God.
I think I may have started pumping at night, maybe when she was a good, I want to say maybe 2.5 months. I may have started, or 3 months, maybe started pumping at night, because she started to sleep longer stretches. And so I would have to get it out. I couldn't stay in there, and I couldn't, like, she sleeps, so, and I was definitely not waking her up to eat if I didn't have to. So I definitely like started pumping at night until I I think for the most part, until I went back to work, all my pumping sessions happened in the middle of the night, like 4 a.m. when my supply is the highest. So I would get, one side, 8 ounces out of one side, and it was amazing. Not thinking I was going to have any issues when I went back to work. Then I get back to work. Not only, I'm in a highly like demanding job where I have meetings on meetings on meetings. So even getting back and trying to get into the routine of everything, I found myself the best way that I was going to be successful at continuing to breastfeed was I had to block my schedule. Okay, I know I need to breastfeed between this time and this time. And then my daughter also, she's a quick, like a frequent eater. So she may come on and she's on there for maybe like 5 minutes, or maybe even 2 minutes, but it's like still to this day, it's like 2 hours. She doesn't go more than like 2.5 hours without eating. And a lot of times I think she uses that because it's like, oh, even if I'm busy, if I go eat, I'm with mommy, I don't have to be with daddy. So she uses that as well, because she'll know good and well she's not hungry, and then she'll come and then he'll walk away and then she'll look like, hey girl. So I think trying to go back into work and pump is extremely hard, because you want to feed your child, but then you're like thinking about work and all the things that you got to do, and it's just constant like, and then you're in there and it's like, when this is over, and it's uncomfortable. And so you're stressing, and then you're trying to get it out as fast as possible, which then now you're doomed for failure.
Right.
And I know like this is a serious, like, state that we're in with the pandemic, but I look at it as a blessing, because I don't know, had this not happened, I don't know that I'd be still breastfeeding for this long. I think I would have had to eventually supplement on formula, because I was dipping into my supply every day. And towards the end, I noticed, like, beginning, it was more of, okay, I'm producing more than she's eating. But as she grows, her stomach grows. And it got to the point where before this, like early March, where I noticed, okay, she's eating more than I'm producing. So I would come home, and I think the lactation consultant told me, and I think when I first started, I would use frozen milk and then freeze the current milk. Yeah. She told me to use your current milk, and then if you need to, come out of your supply, which then got me to realize that, okay, I was producing more than she was eating. But then beginning of March, I noticed, okay, I'm putting in for her supply to go to daycare for the next day, and she's eating this much, same amount she ate yesterday, but dang, now I got to go and get the unfreeze the milk over here to kind of supplement in. So I think because going back to work, everything started to like decrease, and I think it was a lot of the stress, and then trying to do that, and then we live far from work, and not having enough time. So truly, I would get home maybe 6:30 or later, and then she's down at 7:30. So I'm trying to, do all of these things and not have a lot of time in between that. And then for the most part, you try to sleep when they sleep, and then you got to be up. I'm up at 5:30, and then I still got to get up in the middle of the night to do that pump session, because that really matters now, as well.
All of the challenges going back to work, I don't think I realized the effects it would have on my supply going back to work. Like I had no idea that once I started, it was going to be like, you really have to make some adjustments to your schedule, because before I started, I wasn't pumping on a consistent basis. I was like, oh, I'm here at the house. Like I'm good. She's good. And then even in the beginning, I would be gone maybe for an hour or two, and then I would come back. So I would get her before I left, and then as soon as I get back, breastfeed her again. But as work started to increase, I'm gone for 3-4 hours. So I'm at least missing one full feed. And that's like, sometimes I will be gone And by the time, if I try to pump on my way out, like while I'm out and about, it would not come out. Like nothing, nothing would come. And I'm like, so it wouldn't be until when I know if I was home, she would have already breastfed at this point. Nothing would come.
Right.
So it's like an hour or so later when I'm on my way to get her, now I try, and that's when the milk comes. And I'm like, now I'm about to, like, I'm messing with the amount that she's going to get when I get there. Because, when she sees me, just like, oh, mommy, come on, feed me. Come over here. Come over here.
Right.
And so I was just
so
like,
real.
I was just like, so it's like, I would pump literally, I would have maybe a 45-minute drive. And in that 45 minutes, I would get the ounces that I needed for the day. And like, dang, like I'm about to go get her. And I would get there and she would be on there trying to feed and barely getting anything now because I've just pumped it. So it's like, do I skip the pump and just feed her and not have supply for my mom tomorrow, or not be building up the supply at home? So did you experience that? Like all this, the foolishness of pumping? Because I agree. I'm not a fan.
I did, but I didn't. I resigned from my corporate job, so I actually didn't go back to work. So that part of it, I didn't experience. But the pumping in the middle of the night, I think Jessica hit it on the head when she first said lack of resources, lack of knowledge. I mean, our hormones were already like raging. There's so much going on. You're not sleeping. And then I feel like in terms of preparation, I could have been better prepared, but like, I feel like nobody told me. Like I was reading books, but they didn't really tell me. It was like this theoretical, hypothetical thing. And I'm like, just lay it out. Like, give us an idea of like, hey, you're going to have to figure out your breastfeeding versus pumping and sleeping. Like at least when I had a clear mind before the baby, I could have figured it out. Whereas now I'm exhausted, not feeling well, you know what I mean? And then trying to figure out how do I pump? So, but I did, the middle of the night, it was a nightmare. At first I thought pumping was good until I realized that I not only have to pump, but you still have to breastfeed. So then I felt like, well, what's the point? It's easier to just breastfeed then.
Yeah.
Because then you got to clean it. You got to clean the stuff. Like almost every time.
All them adapters and pieces every day after every use.
Yeah, and then you only have one. I'm like, why not supply us with 10 so that we don't have to wash dishes every time? So, yeah, I was over it.
I agree. Like they're really, I didn't have, and I looked at people around me, like you guys are just right after I had Arden. So you're like a few months behind me. And then my other friends, they're like, their kids breastfed like years ago. They have older kids. So, and then I'm like, my mom breastfed, but I'm 30. So she breastfed me, but she can't give me no sources and no information. And I'm like, my husband's mom, she didn't breastfeed. So I'm just like, where can I get the information that I need to prepare? Because I agree, I did not have all the tools. I did not know what to do. I thought I was like, I'm gonna get this pump because I know I need something. I got the Willow pump because it's electric and it is like mobile and I can be on the go. I charge it, make sure it's good and charged, and then I can do everything I need to do while I'm out. That's me trying to just process it myself. But that was like as much as I could think of. And I'm like, okay, they have the bags and they have that. And my mom got me a cooler and I'm like, okay, I'm prepared at least for being and doing this at some degree. But pumping in the middle of the night, I tried that maybe once. And I was like, this is
it's stupid.
Because
like, what's the point?
what am I doing? Like, why am I so I can either get up and feed when she's ready to eat. I can just have her latch on, but I'm supposed to, she's feeding on the left side and I'm supposed to pump the right. Who?
That is like some magic trick.
That's magic because you have to have all of that
Wow.
ready. Like you need to have everything. Okay, I have the pumping bra on.
Right.
I have the pump right here. I have the bags. I
Right.
have like,
it's too much. And then you're trying to eat. They're like, don't forget to drink water while you're breastfeeding. You're like,
Man, who's
with what
drinking while you
hand?
talking?
Like,
ooh,
how do you
Right.
do these
Not
magic
not
tricks?
even, girl.
And then
I
I saw a lactation consultant too, but I felt like I only got really good information from a lactation consultant, and I'm so thankful that I was able to have that. But I'm like, what happens if I didn't have the money to get a consultant? Like, where do you get the resources? I am very fortunate that I was able to, but I'm like, what if I didn't? Where do you look? Where do you find
and I've
information that's
done
clear?
like YouTube videos. I've looked up different things, and again,
It's
it doesn't.
everywhere. Yeah,
It's like it doesn't necessarily, like you had the lactation consultant, and
right.
you'd be like, so for your specific situation, this is
Right.
what you do to help you,
Right.
because every woman is
Exactly.
different.
Right.
Literally, like for instance, the first video I did for this series was labor and delivery, and all three of us had
Whoop.
3 different labor and delivery stories. And I know in this, we all 3 have
yes.
had 3 different labor and delivery stories.
Yeah.
Nobody really prepares you for that. It's like, okay, we want you should go to a hospital because anything can happen. But it's like, well, what are these, the anything for, especially for Black women, that anything could be very drastic and very horrible. And so you're like, well, how do I prepare for the anything?
Right.
So when it came to breastfeeding, I was just like, I don't have a lot of people. Yes, my family supports me. They're like, yes, do that, because yes, like that's amazing. Give her the nutrients. One, I'm cheap, and I'll pay for this pump, but I didn't want to have to pay for the formula. I really didn't.
Right. Yeah.
I'm glad I got
Right.
free
Yeah.
formula.
I mean, legit. That is a legit concern. I bring that up every day. I'm like,
Expensive.
listen, Lord, thank you for providing this breast milk. I do not want to have to buy formula.
It's
I'm just cheap. Okay.
I'm so happy that he's almost done.
I bet, because then it's like, are you gonna transfer him just straight to regular milk? Like, do you do almond milk or coconut milk or anything like that of the variety of milk that they have?
I don't even know. See, more lack of information. Whatever the doctor tells me.
Listen,
I know whole milk is supposed to be good, but I don't know. I'm like, I drink almond milk. Can they drink it?
Right.
I have no idea.
I don't.
I guess I'll Google it.
My husband drinks whole milk, but I don't. That messes my stomach up. So it's like, do I?
Right.
But
for some reason, I think the plan is that you're supposed to start them on whole milk.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe, unless they have a known allergy, I believe whole milk is where it is because of the nutrients that are in whole milk.
Yeah.
Now, if your family is vegan, you know, I guess that's a personal preference for you, whether you want to bring the milk in your house. But if whole milk is better and your kid ain't got no allergies, then just get a kid whole milk.
Just do that.
Exactly.
See, that's why I'm like, I'm in this this Facebook group, Black, it's something breastfeeding. I can't even remember the name of it, but somebody else in the midst, after I had her, somebody was like, oh, look at this group. I was like, oh, okay, let me check this out. I'm like, that would have been good. But I'm in the group and I'm just like, this is a lot of information.
It is. And there's like Milky Mama, but okay, it might just be me because I work in the internet world. But the website's terrible. I'm like, when you're in the middle of the night trying to find some information about breastfeeding or formula, you're like, I can't use this website. Can somebody please help them build a new one? Because like when you're trying to go fast, you need like
easy access,
easy to search. Because they have some good info. Yes, this is a side note.
I'm so glad you looked at my website and told me what to do, because baby, listen, that's such an aside. I'm sorry, but you helped me. Okay, I'm back to the topic. Okay, my website is on point now.
Because it does look really good. But like, I just, they have good information, but it's buried. And then when you guys know, you're sleepy, you're tired, you're like, I just didn't feel like I had time to like search. And then similar to you, I had people who had friends a long time ago I had friends who stopped breastfeeding before I did. And then I had other friends actually who it was like, oh, they had like a miracle boob and a miracle baby because they had no breastfeeding problems. So they couldn't even relate to my struggles because I'm like, they're like, they just latched in the hospital and no pain and no nothing. And then it was just like, la, and they couldn't relate. So I had like two extremes, like people who a long time ago and then people who like didn't even make it as far as I made it. And then other people who just didn't have any issues. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And then I like in that group, they have people are like, which I think is crazy to still be going by the months, but they're like 33 months in. And I'm like, so that, okay.
Right. So that's another thing, actually, when,
how long?
You know, you just, yes, I'm just thinking like, okay, how long am I, like, no, I mean, I'm not saying that hey, it's whatever, it's best for the baby. But I'm just like, how long am I supposed to be? I mean, how do you even get her to the point where she don't even want it anymore? Because at this point, she knows how to do it herself.
Right.
So if she's hungry and I'm here, she literally will, like, not even like,
oh my gosh,
period. Like, she knows how to get what she wants. So it's not even a thing. She's really aggressive with it, and she's been that way since the moment she's learned how to latch on. She will get, if she's hungry, she's not gonna wait on you to get to do it. She's gonna do it herself.
Yeah.
Someone told me like 3 years is when their immune system. I feel like I heard that in like the course I took, the breastfeeding course, around 3 years. But I'm like, do people do that? Like that just
some
seems.
people do.
I mean, maybe that's cool. Don't want to like breastfeed shame or whatever. For like however long. But I heard it was around that time because that's when their immune system on their own is able like to kind of do their own.
Yeah. And but I heard that as well. So I definitely heard that as well. And I'm like, okay, how are you doing this? I know some people are like, they adjusted it to where they only do it like at night. They're not doing it during the day because during the day they're having water and they're eating food. So it's more like for them to go to sleep or something. That's still like they get their.
But are they on the boob with the full set of teeth? Or are you pumping?
No, they're still breastfeeding. And that's why I'm like, she got like 2.5 teeth. I don't know. Because with her, with baby like 2.5 teeth, she has, sometimes she'll, like you said, she'll kind of like, your baby will kind of like bite you on purpose, you think? I'm like, I think she'd be doing it on purpose because she'll kind of look at me for my reaction. And I'm like,
they do.
I'm like,
and then, and then it's just like, ow.
Oh, she did this. She did this, like, and pulled up. So it was like her.
Oh yes, I've had that.
And then she did it twice in a row, and I was like,
when I tell you that is an experience you do not want to have. Already sensitive because you're feeding, but yes.
No, thank you.
I wasn't ready for it. So I'm really trying to, determine like how long. If I'm like a week away, literally a week from today. She'll be 12 months. She'll be
like, is this it?
Is this it? I don't know. Because she as well knows how she'll, in the middle of the night, you can hear, that's her in the middle of the night. Like eyes closed, and she's
for sure. Always looking. Like, listen, because now we've gone through this whole sleep thing where she doesn't want to sleep. Unless she's like beside me.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not happening. And then when she's beside me though, and she wakes up, and she's a wild sleeper, like tell you, like punch you in the eye, kick your knee you in the side, but then
rolling all over the place.
She'll just then she decides she wants to sleep on top of you, and then 5 minutes later, I want to sleep on my back, but I want to be right next to you. But then I want to smack you, and I'm just like, okay, I am not sleeping tonight.
Oh my God.
But during that whole time, still, the eyes closed. So the whole sniff thing that they could do when they were young, they still do. So she still tries to find. But then she wants to drink a little bit. but she still did she fall asleep, but she still wants it in her mouth. So you're like, okay, great, she's asleep. So you try to remove it. No. And then it comes back.
I'm not alone.
Like, okay,
I'm not alone. I felt like, I promise in this, you sometimes feel like, am I the only mama that still got the baby in the bed? Because she just, if she can't smell me,
I think it's a girl thing.
She is like I've tried a few times and I want to retry, getting her to sleep in her little crib that's next to the bed. But it's like she wakes up even more often.
Listen,
like
not wake up even more often. Won't even let you put her down. As soon as that back,
it's like this.
Hit you that. Yep. Listen, try the back, and then she's tries the stomach on the knees. When you put her down up on the knees, like, nah.
I am not alone.
I ain't sleeping no more. I'm not sleeping no more. And so in order for you to get sleep, right. So in order for you to get sleep, you just, whatever. Like, whatever you want to sleep, girl, is what we're going to do. Because at this point, like, I'm not doing this with you every night. Like, I got to sleep too. I'm tired. But like I know you have a girl, Jasmine. My best friend has a girl, and it is the same way.
Yeah, it's different
for her. Girls.
It's different.
It's just they want to sleep by you, on you. Like, and it's not that because like she's right, and then independent, but at the same time, it's just like. And my husband's like, okay, she needs to get up out of the bed. So we try. Like, honestly, I have tried. Okay, like it is just not working. Mm-hmm. And then you wanted to terms like sleep training. And I swear, if I were to try that, it would break my heart. I cannot hear her scream. I would be on the floor bawling underneath the crib.
Because even just hearing her cry for a little bit, is like,
it's gut wrenching. It's like, I think it's a mom thing.
Are loud because she can scream, and it can be for a split second. She'll scream like nothing, and you feel it.
You feel it, like it makes my blood feel a certain way. Like I just feel not right. Like I can't rest if he's crying. Like I can't do anything else. Like if somebody's talking to me, all I'm thinking is, he's crying. I can't.
I need to know why.
I can't sleep. I can't do anything. I'm just like, can we take care of him? So
but then dads can tune it out. Have full conversation.
Hours.
They don't feel it. It's like in your soul. You hear them, and it's like, and you know that the little whimpers or like whatever whimpers versus the real cry.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that I just cannot stand. So when you hear it, no matter what she's doing, you gotta go. Like, in a meeting, all right, guys.
Yep.
You hear baby.
I'm gonna go. Pause that. Pause your thoughts. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I'll be back.
Yeah. That right there, and then trying to breastfeed at the same time, trying to get some sleep. Like sleep.
Don't even.
I listen. I thought that 6-7 months, because that's when moms are like, oh yeah, we put them in the crib in the bassinet and they sleep by themselves, and I'm like, okay, cool.
That sounds like me.
Tried it, and I was like, yo. But that means if she's over here.
Yeah.
I'm still breastfeeding her in the middle of the night. So that means that I have to get all the way up out of my whatever semblance of sleep, because, she's a wild sleeper. So she's rolling. I hear her moving and doing all of her little things. And I need to get all the way up. When I get her, she's not just where she didn't smelt me and she came to the boob. No, she's all the way up now. So we're talking about a stretch of a few weeks where she would wake up for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours in the middle of the night. I was like, check please. I returned to sender. I don't know. Like, I have to then be up with her for that amount of time until she's ready to go back to actual sleep. And that was all because she wanted to eat. No. Nope.
So you guys still feed in the middle of the night, both of you?
I do.
So I
Oh,
think
wow.
for me, I stopped. So at first she was a really good sleeper once I got her to get to sleep. But that's because she slept in the middle of us, and we got like a little bed, even though they tell you like don't use for sleeping. We use it for sleeping.
Right.
And we put her in there, and she was good up until she maybe got, I want to say, at the very start of COVID. So what, almost 6 months? And then I was thinking, oh, it's like a sleep regression, but it never ended.
No.
It was like where she constantly wanted to, like, she didn't want to sleep there anymore. Like, she didn't want to sleep in the middle of the bed. She wanted to be near you, on you. And I think it was also kind of the fault of like her being sick, like in daycare too, going to daycare, being sick. So she couldn't at night. I think it was around with that, and then at night, like she couldn't breathe when she lay flat. So the only way that you can get her to breathe was putting her on your chest and you're being elevated. But then at that point, she got used to that. So now that's what she wants, and that's what she needs to go to sleep. And then the crazy thing was when she was sick and on my chest, she didn't want to eat. It wasn't about the eating, like she would be good.
Yeah.
And I was able to at least put her down for like, 30, 40 minutes to go and pump. And then she was sleeping out, and if she couldn't breathe or she would start coughing and start to wake up, I would put her back on my chest. Well, after she got better, she never wanted to leave my chest. But for her, a part of not leaving means, okay, if I want to be on mommy, I need to eat. So it's constant like,
smart.
Put her down. No, I'm not done. I'm not done. I want to eat.
I'm just kidding.
But then at the same time,
smart.
Right.
Smart.
But you want to sleep, so you give in. So it's constant. And like I said, I cannot. And then like you go to the doctor and they tell you like, oh, we're having this and a sleep regression. And she was like, no, it's not sleep regression. She's spoiled, basically. You should try sleep training. And I'm like, my husband's like, yeah, we should try sleep training. I'm like, listen, you are not the one that has to deal with that because he sleeps through anything. So it's
that
me,
part,
right?
I would be sleep training her. Is that that's what you're telling me?
Yeah,
I would be sleep
we
training
as an
right.
Yeah.
We as
and I love my pediatrician. I love her. I love my pediatrician. But at the same time, she has boys. She doesn't have girls. Right. And I feel like there has to be some type of connection there between the sex of the baby and sleep training and you being able to do that. Like, I just don't. She's like, yeah, you got to do it. And I'm like, listen, lady, you have not heard my daughter scream. Like, it's just not.
That's a whole nother thing too.
It is
lack of resources as well, because we tried. I don't even know what we do, what it's called. It's like we just do what we do. I don't know what that's called. But he sleeps, so I don't know.
It's so many methods. Like I got
Ferber?
a couple months ago. I got it's a nested bean.
Yes.
Like a sleep sack.
Oh, how was that? Did that work? Because I'm glad I didn't pay for that if it didn't. It's kind of expensive.
I got one of the larger ones where it's she can still kind of have her feet hanging out. So I don't know if it's when she doesn't like being put on her back in the thing. So as soon as you have her in there, I will lay her where she's asleep. I feed her, put her to sleep, and she's good. And trying to put her in there, it lasted for only a little while. And so I'm just like, I don't know if this is working. And then after I did it for like 2 nights, and after that I was like,
nope.
You want me to do this a third night? And I'm doing it. Like I don't know. And so she woke up several times throughout that night, and I was still feeding her and all of that. But I think it will work. I just tried it again recently, but I still don't know if it's working. I
don't know. I heard too, because I know it's like really good to breastfeed, but then from breastfed mamas, I don't know, from the ones I've heard, they don't sleep. It's not as filling, so they like need to eat more often. So I wonder if it's because I feed Lincoln before he goes to bed formula,
like
which
bottle.
More substance.
Yeah.
And so he's able to sleep longer. I don't know. I've heard that from different blogs and people. But then I'm like, well, where does that leave moms who breastfeed? There has to be
There has to be some balance because I've heard like now that she's in the phase of where she's eating, I'll feed her dinner basically, and then I'll breastfeed her to sleep.
Right.
She still wakes up in the middle of the night
and
so
hungry.
like,
Yeah.
I'll still give her pacifier, but I've noticed that if pacifier, sticking that in her mouth to soothe her to let her go back to sleep, versus giving her the boob, she stays down longer if I give her the boob. Like she'll be like, no, I was actually hungry. So it's like,
what do you do?
Girl,
what do you do?
This pacifier biz used to be my jam. Give her the pacifier. She don't want nothing to do with no pacifiers.
She hungry.
Before bed, during bed, not never, not where, who, wow, how, where. Like, no. She's to the point where you try to put it in.
Give me the boob.
Nope. You know what I want. Stop playing with me. So, no, she is not having.
You know what?
It
that is. It's funny because that one of the things when she started teething, that was when I had her in the bed next to me, like more like before she was in the middle. Now she's on my side, like right next to me.
Oh.
And it really started when she was right around 6 or so months, and she was really teething, literally for a good 3 months before anything came.
Any teeth?
So you aggravated just for months, nothing. And so I was just like, you know what? How can I soothe you in the middle of the night? And that was when it started for me. So we have been on here for a while, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I would say with all the things that you guys have learned in your coming up to almost a year of your little ones, what is that one thing that you wish you would have known before you had your baby so that you could have properly prepared for this breastfeeding journey?
For me,
go ahead.
I think honestly, because I'm different, I had a issue with supply. Oh my God.
Oh yes. Oh, I saw her like 6 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Gosh, I haven't seen her. Look at this funky baby.
She's so cute.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
He's such a cutie patootie.
I love
it.
She's so cute. I love it.
I love.
For me, I think because I had a supply issue, and even though I didn't really love pumping, from the nurses and from lactation consultant, they were like, you should wait to pump. I wish I would have started in the hospital. Like I had a friend who was like, she was pumping in the hospital and had milk. I feel like it might have helped my supply. Like I know it doesn't help them latch, but I feel like I would have gotten it going. So I wish I would have started that sooner, because then you're fumbling around at home and like trying to figure it all out. That would have helped me. And I wish someone would have like laid a realistic roadmap of what your day-to-day life consists of, because people just say, oh, it's hard, it's stressful, you don't get sleep, but you don't really know what that means. And I know it's hard to explain, but we have smart people in the world. We could have figured out a way to communicate, like, this is what your life kind of looks like. This is kind of what my life looks like. I wake up, I do this. I don't know, something that was realistic, because, you don't know what to expect. But I think, and I used to say, hey, there's no way to prepare. But as I think now clearly, I'm like, yeah, there could have been better methods, information to kind of prepare someone. Like if my friend would have been like, no, you're up in the middle of the night for an hour and you're trying to figure out how to pump versus breastfeeding, that would have been a ton, just that. Right. But I had no idea of what that life looks like. Right. So I wish someone would have gave me a realistic idea of, hey, like I had a good time, but like I had to wake up, or I had to do this, or I had to do that, so that like, okay, I need to work through. That's normal. For me, I'm like, can somebody just tell me this is normal? Because I don't know. Right.
You feel like you're in this alone, like nobody else has dealt with this. Right. And it's like, no, actually, probably every mother that has tried to breastfeed
Right.
has dealt with this exact
Yeah.
situation.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I agree.
that's mine.
I think I'll piggyback off of that for the most part. Not so much as, you know, kind of for different reasons. Mainly I would build my supply more for thinking about work and kind of to ease some of the stress of maybe not having enough for her to eat all day at daycare. I think I would, that's one thing that I would have changed, is that I would have started pumping sooner. Just so that I had extra milk, so that I knew that I didn't have to stress.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
she's such a cutie pie. Love it. I love it. But yes, I concur. We have so many things that if we would have only known ahead of time, we could have prepared a little bit more, prepared for the sore nipples, the pain, the sleepless, tired nights where you're like, I am at my wit's end with this.
Yeah.
And you really would probably give up. But it's like, if I would have only known more information, somebody would have told me that all of this is normal.
Right.
I would have been better prepared.
Exactly. And that there's not one way to do something. I think I actually learned that from Jessica, because I'm like a very by the book person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because you don't know. You're like, is my baby going to die if I don't do it this way? But it's like, no, you figure out whatever works for you. That was the best advice I got from someone. Like, do what works for you and your family. Like, yeah, the rule, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this and that, but it's whatever works for you guys.
Absolutely. As long as your baby is happy and healthy.
And healthy, yes.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
Yay, ladies. This was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness. I'm just like,
she's so cute.
Okay. You guys have a fantastic evening, and thank you again so much. And we'll see this video on Friday. Bye.
Yes. Have a good evening, ladies.
You too.
Bye. Bye.